Oh shit. Hey everybody. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it, y'all. This is a shame and a scandal, honey. Check this shit out, y'all. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Cause this is a lot. Honey, this case gonna never be the same. I told y'all these people are fighting like hell, honey. Y'all got to hear this shit. Y'all got to hear the shit. Okay? Hold on one second. And tell me if y'all agree or disagree. Because, baby, hmm, this case heating up, honey. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm going to say. This case is heating up, baby. All right? Point blank in the fucking period. And it's going to get even more suspenseful. Fair use commentary, research, education, entertainment, arraignment purposes only. Okay? Fair use commentary under Acts of 1957, 1975, 1976, in accordance with YouTube guidelines. Baby. Mm, mm, mm. Let's go, ho. Choke, no joke. We still trying to figure out if you had any involvement in orchestrating Tupac's demise, as you did, clickbait or tell the truth or whatever. Put that shit in your thing. Ooh, let's see what what this fool name is. Toilet Bowl Right had to say. Right.
The trial against the accused shot caller in the murder of rap icon Tupac Shakur is scheduled to start Monday. In a recent interview with Me from Jail, Dwayne KPD Davis denied his involvement and pointed to the former head of security for Death Row Records. Now, Reggie Wright Jr. is giving me his side of the story.
Even his own attorney said he's a pathological liar, right? But it's unfortunate that he want to bring me into this after all of these years, because now I guess he said that his defense is heading kind of downhill.
Reggie Wright Jr. responding to claims made by Dwayne KPD Davis in this sit-down interview from jail days before the start of his murder trial. Wright says he was in Las Vegas on September 7th, 1996, but insists he was at a nightclub, not the scene of the deadly shooting.
Well, the guy from Entourage came up to me and said, "Red, it's red." Yeah, Tupac just got shot down.
Days later,
we knew of the Southside Compton Crips. We didn't know the actual players until later on that week.
He says a police detective identified Davis's nephew, Orlando Anderson, in surveillance video. This scuffle between Anderson and Shakur and his entourage happening inside the MGM after a Mike Tyson fight and shortly before the deadly shooting.
We have always knew it, like I said, since late mid-September of '96, but the world didn't know.
But then Davis takes part in this book, Compton Street Legend, published in 2019, and admits a role in the killing in interviews.
It's refreshing that it was getting out there. It's unfortunate that KEEFE didn't know the difference between offer and immunity agreement.
Now Davis says he lied about involvement just to make money, and in this interview said he wouldn't kill Shakur because he was a moneymaker for the record label.
KEEFE have never show you one penny. Never given him one penny.
So when Dwayne Davis gets arrested a few years ago, what were your thoughts?
I was predicting that it was going to happen. Number one, because of course they came knocking on my door, like 2022 or something like that. So I knew the investigation was going on. And then, probably more time, I've been before the grand jury.
What do you feel like your role is in the trial coming up?
Just to lay out an atmosphere of what was going on between Pro and the boy record, the Mafia rules, and the Southside Consequence associated to the record.
Also on the witness list, Suge Knight, who has said publicly he won't cooperate.
Mr. Knight, 61 years old, still running that ideology that a lot of people believe and want to teach young men, gang members at school. Being a gang member is how to get down and all that. It's so awesome to
Another name that surfaced in the discussion of the East Coast-West Coast feud, Sean Diddy Combs. Do you think that Sean Combs has any role in any of this?
Just an incentive. I believe Puffy asked TPD put in his book, threw out the offer. And yes, in conversation and solicitation, I can't say, but he threw it out. And then when Orlando came and told his uncle what had just happened to him, and KPD knew he had the solicitation, $1 million, they just beat up on my nephew. I think I always call it a 2-for-1.
Now, Dwayne TPD Davis told me perhaps there's bad blood with Reggie Wright Jr. stemming from an issue over a woman. Wright disagrees and says if it's over his wife, Davis isn't her cup of tea. You can watch my full interview with Davis at 8newsnow.com, and starting Monday, I will be inside the courtroom for the trial.
Shame and a scandal.
Every person in this room has the perfect motive for murder. But only one of these suspects is the murderer. Look at the Timothy debris. Colonel Buster.
Huh? Kind of life after death. Now that he's dead, I have a life.
Who helped many men along the way.
Practice makes perfect. Huh?
Professor Plum, who's looking for a way.
I have absolutely no idea what we're doing here.
Monsters and take you to an evening of mystery. Murder. What's this? Madness. The movie the scene of the crime. Not of the game anymore.
How did you know Tupac Shakur was in a black neighborhood? He was hanging out the window. Tupac? Yeah. What was he doing? Yeah, ran his body out the window.
Dwayne Davis, aka TPD, is no stranger to speaking about what happened on September 7th, 1996. Unfamiliar with the date? Well, it's the date Tupac was shot in a drive-by in Las Vegas.
Everybody ain't the killers. Everybody, you know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't gonna kill. So everybody ain't with that shooter? No. Okay, so but he was the one that was supposed to shoot up Tupac and Suge, but for some reason he wasn't ready for it, so he gave the gun to Orlando, right? Something like that, yeah.
I'm Elizabeth Milner for Law and Crime. For years, KPD has been very vocal. He was in Vegas the night Tupac was shot, and that he was riding in the car where the bullets came from. But now in a new interview, he's claiming he wasn't there that night, and he's innocent. Plus, he says he has witnesses to prove it.
He's laying out the window. So we just came up in the gun line, it was like 14 cars, all of them was black too. He still had a bag of black cars that night. So we were in Florida, and we finished, there he wrote. And I read in the book, you said that it looked like you guys rolled up and Pac. Like he's reaching in, it looked like he's ready to bust our. Yeah. I just went out, yes. Hit that corner, hit a little taste, boom, boom, boom. Got the bus in, we bust back. Took out that motherfucker, like, and Orlando is the shooter. He's the known shooter. I mean, everybody knows Orlando Anderson was a shooter. So Drake got cold feet. He didn't want to do it. He gave the gun to Orlando, and Orlando shot Tupac and Suge. The easiest thing, yeah.
But now, in a new interview with ABC News, he's claiming he's innocent.
I mean, I ain't killed nobody. Never did. Never killed nobody.
And that part might be true. He's not accused of pulling the trigger. Instead, prosecutors allege he just orchestrated the whole thing. In some aspects, we may never know what truly happened, and here's why. KPD is the only one still alive that was allegedly in that car. Authorities have long believed it was KPD's nephew Orlando who pulled the trigger to get revenge from being jumped by Tupac, Suge Knight, and their crew after the Mike Tyson fight, which was the reason they were all in Vegas that night in the first place.
And on this incident, you will see Tupac Shakur, who's wearing his shiny satiny shirt, along with Marion Suge Knight, who's a large man in a brown suit, punching and kicking Orlando Anderson. Following this incident, you'll see hotel security intervene, and they will leave the area of the fight.
It took years for investigators to piece it all together, mainly because of the street code, no snitching, and no one talked for years. Well, until 2008, when KPD signed a deal with investigators to pretty much talk about everything he knew about the murder. But here's the thing. The exchange was that those statements couldn't be used against him in court. So you can imagine why KPD doesn't think he should be in jail right now. But he is and has been since September of 2023. In his interview with ABC News, he said just that, saying, "I'm not supposed to be in jail. A deal is a deal." KPD claims he confessed to his alleged role to keep people who were caught up in a drug case out of prison and says he just told police what they wanted to hear, so they let him go. He said that's the only way you're walking free. It would have been selfish to let everyone go down because of me. At the time, KPD was facing life in prison on drug charges, so he spilled his guts in exchange for a deal. Ironically, now he's facing life in prison again if he's convicted. Detectives essentially built their case around KPD's account of what happened. Plus, he's talked a lot in police interviews, public appearances, not to mention a self-published memoir, Compton Street Legend. But now KPD claims he's an embarrassing. Kind of shocking, given the back of the book says the last living eyewitness to Tupac's murder is telling his story. KPD claims his co-author took artistic liberties with the writing, telling ABC News, "I just gave him details of my life," and he went and did his little investigation and wrote the book on his own. He essentially claims he fabricated what happened for money when he told his story. KPD's trial was actually set to begin this month, until a few weeks ago when his lawyer filed a motion to delay his case. They claim they have witnesses who can testify KPD wasn't in Vegas the night of the shooting, despite claiming for years he was. KPD claims he was in LA when the shooting happened, and he has about 20 to 30 people who will testify to confirm that. But he didn't name any names. The now 61-year-old claims prosecutors essentially have nothing on him. In his interview, he said, "I did not do it. They have nothing. And they knew they don't have nothing. They can't even place me out here. They don't have no gun, no car, no KPD, no nothing." But KPD is pointing the finger at someone else with no evidence. KPD claims Reggie Wright Jr., a man who used to be a Compton police officer and ran security for Suge Knight's death row, was responsible for Tupac's death. Again, saying this with no evidence. Reggie Wright Jr. reportedly testified before the grand jury that indicted KPD, but now KPD claims the prosecution's lead witness should be the lead suspect. Reggie Wright Jr. has denied that accusation. He previously told ABC News, "I was in charge of possibly protecting this young man. It's heartbreaking to keep dragging in my name. I didn't have anything to do with that. One of the worst days of my life when I heard that that happened. In Reggie Wright Jr.'s most recent statement about the claims KPD made, he says KPD confessed to Tupac's murder to the LAPD in 2008, to the Las Vegas Metro PD in 2009, and publicly from 2018 to 2023 on BET, multiple YouTube interviews, and in a book about his life, and is only now using the media to slander me because he finally got arrested and he has no other defense. And it might be a defense tactic. TVD's lawyers have been pushing for him to get released on bond for months, but that didn't happen. Again, he was supposed to head to trial, but it was pushed, meaning KPD will spend more time in jail until he gets his day in court. Prior to him being arrested, though, he claimed he turned over a new leaf. He said he retired from the drug game and was enjoying his life with his children and grandchildren. He said, I did everything they asked me to. Get new friends, stop selling drugs. I stopped all that. I'm supposed to be out there enjoying my twilight at one of my effing grandson's football games and basketball games, enjoying life with my kids. Now KPD has much more to worry about, like his trial for first-degree murder. But it will be a while before we know the outcome. KPD's trial was pushed from March of this year to February of next year. I'm joined now by criminal defense and civil rights attorney Tyler Bailey. Tyler, thank you so much for joining me today, and great to see you as well, too. What's your reaction to KPD speaking out in a TV interview, even as he awaits trial?
All for him. I think that he's gotten himself in a lot of trouble speaking too much from his book or whatever he put out there before he was actually charged, and now speaking to the media here. I just don't think it's going to go over well for him.
And do you think it was kind of a Hail Mary attempt to kind of gain public sympathy in a way? And are you surprised his lawyer even allowed him to give an interview?
People forget that lawyers, we do actually work for our clients, and sometimes our clients want us to do something or they want to do something that we disagree with. I think in this situation, it was a Hail Mary, and I think he feels like he's a good messenger. I don't know if it's a spotlight that he's intrigued by or if he thinks he can actually help his case, but I think he hurt his case by his demeanor. If they play those videos in the actual trial of this case, I don't think it's going to help him. It was a Hail Mary, and I don't think it was caught or received.
Yeah, because I can kind of see the prosecution team now just kind of playing those previous YouTube interviews and then kind of compare and contrast that to the ABC interview he just gave and seeing how a jury could kind of react to that. Definitely not doing any favors for KPD. And much of the meat of that ABC interview was KPD claiming that he's innocent. He claims he wasn't there in Vegas the night of the shooting. He claims he didn't even write or read the memoir where he said he was there in the car. What are your thoughts, given for years and years? He has said he was there. He was the one who passed his nephew the gun used to kill Tupac. And now he's just saying, I'm innocent. I'm not even there.
He's there now that he's actually facing charges for the murder of Tupac. And I don't think it helps him. Any juror who hears this case, they're going to think, well, he said he was there for years. He's been on YouTube saying he was there. Now that he's facing charges, he wasn't there. It doesn't help him. If he has a strong alibi, we'll see what happens. He'll need to corroborate that with more than just saying, I was not in Las Vegas the night that Tupac Shakur was killed, when he has said for years that he was there.
And it's surprising, too, because now he's saying that 20 or 30 people could testify he wasn't in Vegas the night of the shooting. But at the same time, he's not naming any type of names of who can corroborate that alibi, nor was that alibi even kind of brought into the picture, into the conversation, even until a couple weeks ago. So what's your reaction, again, to this kind of about face that KPD is doing, where now he's pulling 20, 30 people out of the woodworks, it feels like, just to kind of corroborate that he said, to corroborate his story that he wasn't there.
His defense has to do something. He's not just going to walk in there and plead guilty. I just think that him saying that 20 or 30 people can testify that he was in Los Angeles 30 years ago or so now, right? That's going to be hard. What 20 or 30 people are these people who are going to testify in this trial? Are they credible witnesses? And if he had a strong alibi, this would have been something that his defense would have brought to the prosecution early in the case to try to nip things in the bud.
Yeah, you would think they would have brought it at one of his first bond or bail hearings, for that matter, too. And there's been a lot of controversy kind of surrounding the agreement KPD made with investigators back in 2008, that he would tell them everything he knew about what happened that night in Vegas in exchange that it wouldn't be used against him in court. And you can kind of argue there that that might be the reason that he's been just so, but that was back in 2008. And he's given a lot of interviews since, admitting to him being there, him being in the car, him passing his nephew that weapon there. But what are your thoughts on that deal? And do you think it'll be an issue come trial?
For the trial this case because it probably will not be brought to evidence or allowed as evidence. The only thing that will be brought in evidence going to be the facts of this case is, of course, things may be brought up on rebuttal by the defense. But regarding the proper agreement, it's something that could come up during an appeal. So many may remember when Joe Cosby was convicted for the sex crimes that he was accused of committing. He, of course, vehemently denied that he did those, but his conviction was ultimately overturned because he himself entered into somewhat of a proper agreement with the government. So this could help him out later on when if he's convicted first, and then while he goes through the appeal process, it could be grounds for a new trial or maybe grounds for overall vacating of his conviction.
That'd be interesting if it even gets to that point. That would be a very stunning development there. What do you think, as we're still waiting for trial, but what do you think that the trial could look like? Do you think that prosecutors have enough to make their case, given that the murder was almost 30 years ago now?
Difficult case for prosecution because in cases like this, you're going to have people who don't remember things. You may have witnesses who often have criminal charges themselves. So it's really going to be who can present the cleanest case for the jurors to believe. I don't think KEEFE is the best witness. He's already given some of these statements. I'm pretty sure he'll take the stand at trial. He's going to open himself up to a lot of attacks. The thing with his defense of having all these people who can testify towards his alibi, are they going to be credible witnesses? Are they going to check her past? Because the jurors are going to want to really figure out which side's the cleanest, which is the more logical outcome of what happened to Mr. Shakur that evening. And I could see them voting pretty easily for the prosecution here just by the length of time and all the statements by KPD and now his convenient amnesia so late in the game.
Is getting in and out of your bathtub difficult?
Some freaky zeeky shit, y'all. Let's go, baby. How y'all doing?